It's the drunk driver who says, officer, I was not speeding because when I'm drunk, I'm very careful when I'm driving. I mean, you've got the doctor saying these people are unsteady and they're more careful, so they're less likely to fall down. While it may be true, I don't like the way they came out for prosecutors. You as a criminal defense attorney must be licking your chops today.
Well, I got to tell you, Vinny, you are right on. Your analysis at the top was exactly on. This is not what you want to hear if you're a prosecutor, and it's certainly not what you want to bring on. They had to do it. They had to take the sting out of it. They obviously knew it was a huge problem for them. That's why they called them. And listen what happened on cross. On cross-examination, the doctor admitted that vertigo, and this is cervical vertigo, is caused by stress, and that divorce could cause such stress. Studying to be a nurse could cause such stress. Having a lover's quarrel could cause such stress. And having a boyfriend who says he doesn't want to marry you within days could cause such stress. Put that together with the fact we know she wasn't medicated for the two things the doctors prescribed for her, and what do you get? Stress, which causes the cervical vertigo. It was little less than devastating, but it really was the point of the day, and you're right, the defense is loving it.
It would be great for prosecutors if they had some evidence, and maybe I don't know if these photos show it, of splash marks somewhere. Because if you're in a tub of water standing and you fall, there's going to be some splash. My goodness, and there should be some water that's on the outside of the tub. And I just don't know if you can pick it up from the limited pictures that were taken at the scene. But I could see a juror saying, you know, let me see. You know, if someone falls in a bathtub, there's going to be some water somewhere.
Well, let's talk about two things. First of all, the idea of balance. What the doctor was very careful to say is that it makes people feel like they're unsteady. That doesn't mean that they are unsteady with this specific kind of vertigo. As Beth pointed out, it's cervical vertigo. It's not what you think of as vertigo. So he was careful to point that out and say that these people are probably more steady in reality because they're always conscious of this feeling that they have. It doesn't really make them unsteady, it's just they feel that way. That's one thing. Two, we can't take away the fact that yesterday was a really good day for the state with Dr. Bloom. I mean, I think in a way a devastating one for the defense because the defense screwed it up so bad that Dr. Bloom came off as a likable, believable man who had done a study of this, no matter what anybody else says, and said this was no accident. And so, yes, I agree with what you said in the beginning. Good day for the defense so far by the state's own witness, and anybody who wants to hang their hat on it will be able to hang their hat on it. But I also know that this doesn't look like an accident for all the reasons that Beth said factually. It does not look like an accident.
But they're all coming to different conclusions. Now, we know in this case, Dr. Michael Baden, another famous person we've seen on television millions of times. We have seen him in the courtroom for years as an expert. And we're coming to different conclusions here. How do you think the jury handles this? Do they just toss it all out and rely upon common sense?
Well, I mean, look, so far, Vinny, in the testimony, they're not going to be concerned with the other doctors that were mentioned in that cross-examination, but they will be concerned with Mitchell. That's the state's own medical examiner. They can't get around that. Look, there is an 800-pound invisible gorilla that's in this case that the state did not take on, and that's the issue of professional courtesy. It began at the scene. Why the investigation was done in a shoddy manner. Was it really negligence, or was it people looking the other way because this was a sergeant from Bolingbrook? And maybe that continued now. When you have a shoddy examination of the scene, that goes then to the medical examiner, and maybe he doesn't examine it as thoroughly as he needs to be, and now we're stuck with it. So that may be what happened. The state is not taking this on as a corruptions case or anything like that. They're stuck with just saying it was sloppy. It was really more than that. What you've got left at the end of the day with this jury is that the state's own medical examiner calls it an accident. The investigator initially on the scene calls it an accident. How the heck they're ever going to get around that, I don't know. And that's besides the point they can never connect Drew to the scene of this crime.
Gia on Facebook today says, I was asking, why weren't the bruises so apparent during the first autopsy and more visible during the second? Jeff Gold, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, You know, and this is huge. First autopsy, second autopsy. Is there an explanation?
No, there's no explanation for it, really. I will say this. One of the things that came out yesterday on cross-examination, although it was a bit marred by the style of the cross-examiner, who was a bit harsh on the witness, Dr. Bloom, nevertheless made the point that when you looked at the bruises in the slides that the doctor had, they looked yellowish as opposed to a black and blue, which would mean fresh. So, you know, there was, you know, a defense attempt to say that Dr. Mitchell was 100% right, that these were healing wounds, they were not things he was concerned with. But really, in the end, it looks like he just missed them. Dr. Bloom was a very, very good witness for the state. Look, the prosecution had to call, in essence, a defense witness. It did it only so that it could say later it called the witness and wasn't hiding anything. That's a bad day for the prosecution and a good day for the defense. This witness was, as you mentioned, look, you say the word vertigo when we're talking about a fall in the bathroom, and it doesn't matter about all the other issues about whether it really could be an accident or not. You've got the jury thinking they have a peg to hang their hat on, and the state had to call that witness. That's a good day for the defense.
That, Jeff Gold, you know, that, you know.
How about it? How about it, Vinny? You called at the beginning.
I don't like the timing of not till 2007. Speak up, right?
Look, and it's first of all, it's worse than that because Deal, who was first on the scene, said in his testimony, he still thinks it's an accident. So it was even worse than that. Look, go back to your example of that guy stopped for speeding. If you're a cop and you stop somebody and you don't ask them if they had anything to drink because they flash a badge and then you write a report that says I stopped him for speeding and you didn't see or hear anything else, hey, that's the end of it. These guys, it was like they were flashed a badge for speeding instead of investigating a homicide. It was unbelievable, and it is still unbelievable to this day that Deal would come in and not change his mind, but he couldn't because the state
well, you're talking about Robert Deal.
This.